Welcome to Ink Thinks. So, Waluigi has always been a popular character in Super Smash Bros. Speculation, but since the announcement of Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, he's taken on a whole movement of his own, for better or for worse, and it continues even today. Interestingly enough, a character as mundane as Waluigi has become the subject of a lot of controversy within the Smash speculation scene. But with the announcement of Min Min, we've seen a groundswell of hype around Waluigi, since several of the rules put forth by the Smash community have been debunked by her inclusion. That being said, Waluigi is an interesting case because he has a mix of a lot of factors working both for him and against him in a way that I think almost no other characters have. When you have a ton of speculation and conversation about a character, you're bound to come across a lot of different arguments on both sides of the equation, and that's kind of what I want to talk about today, because honestly, some of these arguments are pretty weak, and in my opinion, easily debunked. So let's start by using facts and logic to debunk some of the most common arguments against Waluigi. Cue the music. Now, when it comes to Waluigi, I think that his criticisms can be broken down into three main categories. The first is regarding the merits of the character himself, implying that Waluigi isn't fit to be in Smash because of who he is as a character. The second category of criticism is based on meta-knowledge that the Smash community has attempted to piece together in order to create their own rules about who is and who is not viable for Smash. This would encompass theories about things like assist trophies not being eligible, or the rights behind certain characters, or other similar points. The last category is an argument based on the community and culture around Waluigi, whether it be the people who sent hate to Sakurai, Nintendo's feelings on the character, or character demand. These all fall into this category. So with these three categories established, let's just jump into the first one, character merit. At this point, it is no secret that Waluigi hasn't exactly been Nintendo's flagship character. One of the main criticisms that Waluigi receives is that he hasn't started in his own game, therefore he's not eligible to be in Super Smash Bros. Let's dissect that for a second. We have several characters who are already in Smash that haven't been the star of their own game, such as Piranha Plant, Bowser Jr., Daisy, or most of the Pokemon on the roster. Now, as a counter to this point, a lot of people claim that Waluigi just isn't as popular as those other characters. Piranha Plant is a recognizable enemy, Bowser Jr. looks like Bowser, etc. But I've yet to see the evidence for this. In fact, Waluigi stars in some of Nintendo's most consistently high-performing titles, the sports, party, and kart games. On the Switch alone, Waluigi appears in the #1 best-selling title and 3 of the top 20 best-selling titles. When you expand it to all of Nintendo's games, Waluigi appears in 8 of Nintendo's top 50 best-selling games of all time, according to Nintendo's annual sales report, putting him in just over 15% of Nintendo's bestsellers. So he's not exactly obscure, and he's definitely a lot more recognizable than a lot of the Smash roster currently. I would imagine he outdoes a lot of the Pokemon, the entirety of the Fire Emblem cast, Olimar, Captain Falcon, and much more in terms of popularity. So I really don't think that recognizability is an issue here, or honestly even a factor when we see that obscure characters like Rob, the Koopalings, or Lucas are added to the game. People also say that Waluigi was solely created to be a meme, or that he was created to be a tennis partner for Wario. Let's address the tennis partner first. It is true that Waluigi's first appearance was in Mario Tennis for the Nintendo 64. The development team over at Camelot was creating the game on behalf of Nintendo, and they were trying to find a partner for Wario. But because he didn't have any super obvious choices, they decided to create their own, and thus Waluigi was born. So it is true that he was created to be a tennis partner, but that doesn't mean it's his only purpose. Mario himself originally appeared as a replacement for Popeye to be a foil to Donkey Kong in his original game, but he's grown to be so much more. And when we go to Waluigi, his purpose has also grown. He's since appeared in many other games, including every single Mario Tennis game, every Mario Party game since Mario Party 3, every Mario Kart since Mario Kart Double Dash, besides 7, but we don't really talk about that one, and he's shown up in one of the best games of all time, Mario Golf Toadstool Tour, and as a secret unlockable character in Mario Golf Advance Tour. He's a recurring character in the Mario Superstar Baseball series and the Mario Striker series, not to mention the Mario Hoop series, Mario and Sonic at the Olympic Games, and his most notable appearance of all, praise be its name, Dance Dance Revolution Mario Mix. You can applaud. And let's talk about that last one real quick. It is true that Waluigi hasn't appeared in his own game, but he did appear as an antagonist in Mario Dance Dance Revolution. He wanted to steal some magical artifacts in order to make himself the best dancer in the world, which is both pathetic and hilarious. Regardless, the point that I'm trying to make is that Waluigi is far from some random, obscure character that no one's heard of. And to be honest, I've seen a lot of you saying that Waluigi is way too obscure, and then you go to ask for Geno in Smash. Just saying. Next, I've heard some people say that Waluigi isn't a canon character because of his appearances being confined to spin-off games. But frankly, that's a weird argument in the first place. First off, it's been confirmed in a few different places that the Mario series doesn't even have a canon, such as this official Mario Wiki article that reads, "Unlike many other franchises, the Mario franchise and its many spin-off series do not have an officially recognized canon. Therefore, arguments over canonicity, canon versus non-canon, are purely speculative and of no importance." But let's say that that didn't apply. Let's say that you don't trust the Mario Wiki article, which, I mean, if you're skeptical or a teacher, I would not fault you for. But let's say that there is a canon and a person could hypothetically weave together the games that are referenced by other games within the Mario series and somehow tie them together. If you do that, could you get Waluigi to fit into the canon? Well, hop in your DeLorean and get up to 1.21 gigawatts because we are about to play with the timeline. Waluigi appears in Mario Kart 3 onward. This is important because in Luigi's Mansion 2, Luigi uses the Poltergust 4000, referencing the Poltergust 3000 used in the original Luigi's Mansion game. In Mario Kart DS and Mario Kart Tour, the Poltergust 4000 is a car that's drivable by Luigi. Therefore, Mario Kart and Luigi's Mansion are in the same universe, but this leads to the question, is Luigi's Mansion canon? Well, in Paper Mario, we find Luigi's diary talking about how Luigi is scared of ghosts and wants his own game, which is a slight hint, but more importantly, we find Professor Egad's invention, FLUDD, in Super Mario Sunshine. He developed the Poltergust for Luigi, and FLUDD, and Shadow Mario's magic paintbrush. And if Sunshine isn't canon to Mario, then honestly, I don't know what would be. Finally, let's talk about his status as a meme lord. While it is true that Waluigi has become the subject of a lot of different memes over the years, that isn't his only characteristic. Even little things like his attempt to steal dance artifacts, or his voice actor Charles Martinet talking about Waluigi's jealousy and self-loathing, we start to get this picture of a horribly insecure character who will stop at no amount of absurdity to be noticed. And that absurdity is one of the reasons that people love him so much. He swims through the air, he randomly shouts "wah" in between his lines just in case you forgot who he was, and let's not forget his signature crotch chop taunt from Super Mario Strikers. That one's going down in history. Despite so few lines of dialogue, I would argue that Waluigi has a lot more character than a lot of Nintendo's protagonists. I'm looking at you, Byleth. So, while Waluigi may be absurd and appear in spin-off titles, he does have one very important thing going for him. Waluigi is very unmistakably Nintendo. I mean, just by looking at him, a person could probably guess the company. Compare him to a few other characters from different gaming companies, and it's clear that his design sticks out. Waluigi is definitely deserving in terms of his character merit, but let's go on to talk about the next category, fan-made rules. From Spirits disconfirming to Ridley being too big, there's been a history in the Super Smash Bros. Community about taking a pattern made by Nintendo and confusing it for a rule. For example, a spirit has never been a playable fighter unless the fighter already existed in the game, and then Min Min came along and shattered that rule. Or third parties weren't able to appear in Smash, and then we had Snake and Sonic. And when it comes to Waluigi, we can see an abundance of these rules. Let's start with the first one on my list. Super Mario is already overrepresented in Super Smash Bros. Now, I don't want to outright dismiss this one because we don't really know how Nintendo operates with their roster balance. They could potentially sit down and write out ratios of how much each series should be represented in Smash, but being totally honest, that would surprise me. Fire Emblem has a huge representation despite it not even being one of Nintendo's top 10 most profitable franchises. It has yet to even beat out Brain Age, whereas The Legend of Zelda is Nintendo's 4th most profitable franchise, and its reputation in Smash is really kinda sad in terms of quality. But the number 1 most profitable franchise of all is Mario, and shortly behind it in the number 3 spot is Mario Kart. Mario is Nintendo's golden boy, and their mascot. If there was any series to over-rep, it would be Mario. That said, there is a distinction between Mario and Mario Kart as far as Nintendo is concerned, so maybe Waluigi is repping a series that doesn't have much representation in Smash. That being said, I don't think that Nintendo is just sitting around plucking out ratios for the different series in Smash. Rather, I think that they just put in whoever they think would be interesting, and that leads to another point, profitability. Now, I see a lot of people argue against a lot of different DLC choices, saying, it wouldn't make any financial sense for Nintendo, we can't have them in there. I've heard this for Geno, I've heard it for Banjo, and I've also heard it a lot about Waluigi. First off, not even discounting the merit of this argument, we've already shown that Waluigi is at the very least prominent in some of the best-selling games of all time. But also, I'm not sure that this argument even holds water. Not to beat a dead horse, but going back to Piranha Plant, I am sure he has his fans out there. But en masse, no one was really asking for him. He was likely put in as a gag character, but even if he was put in as a gag, we still saw a groundswell of support around him begin to emerge. And many people were super hyped about his inclusion, even though he was a relatively strange character pick. The bottom line is we don't know what goes in Nintendo's decisions, and we also don't know the profitability of the deals they strike. Even if something appears to not be immediately profitable, such as taking on a character who hasn't been relevant in a long time, it could be profitable in the future by fostering a good relationship with the company, or even promoting a game that's yet to come out. For example, when Roy was included in Melee before his game was even released, it really helped Fire Emblem's popularity, even if they did him dirty in Melee. That down tilt, man. Nintendo could always be setting up future sales, fostering old business relationships, or something else entirely that we just have no way of knowing as the public. And any statement of profitability about any DLC doesn't really hold water in my opinion, as it's purely speculative, based off a story that a person has told themselves in their own head about what Nintendo wants, without it ever being confirmed. And speaking of pure baseless speculation, let's talk about Camelot, third-party developers, and Diddy Kong. A common argument that I hear is to say that Waluigi can't appear in Smash because his first appearance was in a game developed by Camelot and not Nintendo. First off, we simply don't know how rights work with these characters, and anything is speculation. With any of these second-party characters, in fact. It seems like Nintendo is definitely able to work well with Rare and other developers, since Pikachu is made by Game Freak, Diddy Kong and K. Rool were made by Rare, Shulk was made by Monolith, Fox, Falcon, and Wolf were all made by Argonaut, and no one really knows who made ARMS because no one's ever played that game, but it was probably Warner Brothers or something. And I know that not all of these are a one-to-one comparison, but it should still be enough to provide some sort of basis. On top of that, it would be very strange for a company to develop a character on behalf of Nintendo with the purpose of turning a profit, and then deny that character from appearing in one of the most popular games that's been known to revive series. Even if they were to include the character and not get a share of the DLC money, and I think it's probably likely that they would get some, they would at the very least seriously bolster their reputation and further their fame by having a character appear in Smash. Alright, it's time for the big one. Waluigi is an assist trophy. Throughout the years, we've seen a pattern emerging in Super Smash Bros. That assist trophies do not get turned into fighters. We hear that over and over and over again in this community. But is it true? The recent pick of Min Min over Springman made some fans double down on this rule, but very notably, Sakurai did not say that the lack of Springman's inclusion was because of him being an assist trophy. Rather, it was because every ARMS character is supposed to be a protagonist, which no one knows because once again, what even is ARMS? But if you look at Brawl, you might be interested to see Little Mac appearing as an assist trophy, only to be upgraded as a fighter in the next game. Dark Samus and Isabelle were also given the upgrade treatment. But I admit this is a little different. We're not talking about a fighter being upgraded from one game to the next installment, but we're talking about an assist trophy being upgraded within the same game. Although there has been fan speculation about this with little word from Nintendo, in the early days of Smash 4's pre-release, Sakurai made a Miiverse post that said something like, "Once again, Waluigi is an assist trophy, which means he's not a playable fighter. Just because you try hard doesn't mean that you'll make it into battle." Or something like that. Now there's a few things here. First off, I consider this the single strongest argument about Waluigi, being totally honest. In fact, I think it may be one of the only good arguments against his inclusion. That said, there's a few different points to discuss here. First off, Sakurai has been known to go back on past statements when making future games. For example, when he said that the last several Smash games were his last one, or that he wasn't going to include Villager because he was, quote, unsuited for battle, or when he thought about making Pac-Man and then replied, "There's no way, I thought to myself as I envisioned that mascot oh so reminiscent of a pizza missing a slice," or when he talked about how you wouldn't be able to represent Ridley in Smash and still have it be Ridley. You could also look at his rationale for not including James Bond, and although the character was never included, you can see that some of his initial rules have changed since this quote in page 26 of the Smash Bros. Dojo reader's responses. "Showing realistic guns equals no good. Characters that use an actual actor's likeness, no good. Since the original game is based on a movie, getting those rights equals no good. He's Rare's property equals no good. Blocked on all fronts. Regardless, I don't think there's any denying that in Smash 4, assist trophies did deconfirm, but we've seen time after time that Smash Ultimate plays with our expectations and that there's no guarantee that a rule softly established in Smash 4 will carry on to Ultimate. Not to mention that there's always room for translation error, as the post was originally published in English, which is not Sakurai's native tongue, even if he can put a few sentences together. In the past, there's been multiple examples of false assumptions being made because of mistranslations. Ultimately, this is one of the best arguments against Waluigi's inclusion, but it's still super hard to know if it holds water to this day. Alright, this has been a long video, but before we get to the final points, I want to tell you some awesome news. I actually have a sponsor for today's video. I'm putting a timestamp to skip past this just in case you only care about the video, but if you like what I've done so far and you want to support me, then it would mean a lot if you would hear me out and maybe even subscribe. Today's video is sponsored by Audible, and I know what you're thinking, you have heard this pitch a ton in the past, but I really am going to try to make this something that I genuinely think can help you out. I know a lot of you are like me and you're aspiring content creators. You dream about being able to work from home and make YouTube videos about the things that you love, but the issue is that there's so many people with the exact same dream that it's hard to break through. I've been there and I know how frustrating it is to want to break out of that crowd, and so that's where today's book recommendation comes in. Crush It by Gary Vaynerchuk. Without this book, there would be no Inkthinks. It inspired me to create this channel, and it taught me a lot of the practices that keep me going today. If you want to be a content creator, I would highly recommend Crush It as a must-read. And there's good news, you can get it absolutely free if you follow my link in the description. By doing so, you'll entitle yourself to a free audiobook, as well as paying me for this video, which I think would be awesome. So if you want to find a way to make authentic, passionate content in a way that's uniquely yours, then follow the link in the description below and start your journey today. Alright, our last couple arguments tend to revolve around the community, so let's talk about the haters. Now, I think everyone's heard about this at this point, but these are the ones that gave the Waluigi fanbase the title of toxic. And there's so many people that have heard about those countless Waluigi fans that sent death threats to Sakurai. But what actually happened there? I needed some help on this one, so I reached out to my friend Geebs, who runs the biggest Waluigi server on Discord. I'll link to that in the description. Apparently, before E3, everyone was super hyped. But once Waluigi was revealed to be an assist trophy, the memes started. And there were a total of 2 people banned by Sakurai for posting edgy memes, not death threats, and someone influential within the Smash community pointed that out, which led to Reddit-style internet justice and a separation from the Waluigi fanbase. Many people have claimed that fans were sending death threats, but edgy memes is probably much more accurate to describe what was going on. Anyway, the community wasn't having any of it and started speaking out against Waluigi fans as a whole, rather than just the couple of fans who were actually posting the memes. This quickly labeled the entire Waluigi fanbase as toxic. This kind of unjustified backlash has caused a lot of Waluigi fans to almost become closeted and almost ashamed of their want for Waluigi in Smash for fear of being associated with the toxic crowd. But apart from the dubious origins of Sakurai's haters, we need to question if that's something that would even affect Waluigi's chances. Nintendo is a giant corporation, and I really don't think that they can afford to make financial decisions, such as whether or not to add a new character, based on if a couple of people on the internet were saying really mean things. Along the same line, people sometimes say that Sakurai doesn't even like Waluigi, and so he won't put him into the game because of that. First off, I think that this assertion is essentially baseless. There's nothing that I've found to suggest that Sakurai hates Waluigi, but there's also nothing to suggest that Sakurai is the kind of person who would let personal feelings influence the character selection. He didn't even represent his own series, Kid Icarus, until Brawl, and the same goes for adding more Kirby representation. With around 80 characters in Smash today, there is simply no way that he loves each and every one of them equally. Not to mention, we have reason to believe that Sakurai doesn't even get first choice in the DLC. He might have the chance to turn it down, but I really don't think that he would do that based off of how much he loves to please the fans. And with that, we are on to our final 3 arguments, so let me get through them real fast in a sentence or two. First, people say that there's not enough content for Waluigi to have a moveset, music, or stage made, to which I say false. He's been in so many games that they're bound to find more for Waluigi than they were even starting with for Isabelle or Game & Watch. Our next argument is that it isn't in character for him to be put in, which I think could potentially be true. Waluigi is kind of a desperate outcast in a lot of the games he appears in, but I mean, that's one of the reasons we love him. That said, I could definitely see not including Waluigi as some sort of internal meme at Nintendo. Do I think that this would stop them from ever including him in? No, but is it possible? Yes. And for our final argument, we've made it this far. I've heard that because he doesn't have his own game, it's just not time for him to appear yet. That he should be added, but he should have his own game first before he appears in Smash. Now, we have seen that Nintendo's not opposed to the idea of including a character before their own game, but I mean, I think it would be really cool to see Waluigi's game. I would like to announce a new series coming to my channel, Pitch It, where I break down game concepts that I would love to see. From a heartwarming, It's a Wonderful Life Waluigi game, to an Animal Crossing murder mystery party, to a modern Sonic game that's actually good. I hope you guys really enjoy what I have to say. And anyway, that's where I'm gonna end today's video. This was a lot of work. But I figured that there isn't a better way to announce my return than with the content that got me here in the first place. If you guys like my videos, please consider subscribing. If I missed something or you have something else to say, please leave a comment. I literally read every single one of them, and I do my best to reply to all of them. Also consider stopping by our Discord server. We have a ton of fun people on there who actually talk to each other and who are active, and we would love to have you. And until next time, stay smashing.